So, okay, you're going to, on three, I'm just going to introduce myself and, okay.
We're up.
I am Scott Warner, founder and CEO of Gig, and you're listening to From the Heart with Ed Hart.
Morning, Scott. It's good to see you today, buddy. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, sir. We've been talking about this for a while now.
We have. I was just telling Scott, typically I don't, if you've watched or listened to any of the From the Heart episodes, I usually will dive right into the conversation. But in this case, I think I'll read the bio that I received from Scott, give you a little bit of an idea of the flavor of this man that we're about to talk with. I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation. Scott's a serial entrepreneur. There's multiple meaning to that word serial, and you'll hear that in a little bit as well. I love that. I had my bowl of cereal this morning. His portfolio of success covers everything from tech startups to restaurants, from online blogging to film. He has a visceral passion for building companies that are innovative, profitable, and viral. A go-getter who never settles for less than the best, and I think you'll catch that in our conversation today. Scott has an uncanny ability to build teams who share his same vision. With over 20 years of sales and marketing experience, Scott is a natural leader who exudes confidence and energy. He has personally consulted hundreds of businesses and influencers. You didn't know you sounded so good, did you, buddy?
No.
He's consulted hundreds of businesses and influencers on brand building and better utilizing the social media landscape. From restaurants to healthcare products to savvy tech, Scott has always had an interest in discovering and building startups that have true potential and uses his abilities to take these platforms to the next level. Currently, as he mentioned, he's the founder and CEO of Gig. We'll learn more about what Gig is here momentarily. He focuses on helping businesses better understand how to share and connect with the world using the Gig software. The Gig feature set provides stronger ways to align with target audiences and using quality content, strategic campaigns, and result-driven social media initiatives. Scott and his family, your wife, Mikkel, correct?
Yep.
4 kids, a dog named Dodger. We'll get into that. Reside in Orem, Utah. He's a Southern California native. I think that's where your passion for Lakers and Dodgers and other Southern California things probably started.
You got it, man.
You'll learn in the next hour. Scott's inspiring. He's motivational. He has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. He will post things anywhere from his love of his faith, his family, his sports teams, music, inspiring quotes, his passion for cereal, which I've already alluded to. I just think you're going to love this guy like I do. So Scott, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be on From the Heart today. Let's just start by gosh, there's so many places we could start actually, from Gig to cereal to baseball to what have you. Let me just go right to the elephant in the room that I lead with most of the time on these conversations. I see that you're sitting in your office, I'm guessing up in Orem, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually just got into a new office space about, few weeks ago, actually. Yeah. But yeah, we're in Provo now.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah. Tell our listeners who aren't familiar with the geography up there, where Provo is in relation to Salt Lake and the significance of Provo.
Yeah. So Provo, I mean, a lot of people know Provo is Silicon Slopes, kind of like, up in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, it's kind of the new, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was a good spot. In fact, we have Vivint literally, 500 yards from here and Qualtrics 1,000 yards from here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Both, multi-billion-dollar companies and in fact, I have good friends that work at both and run both. And, but right here in this area was just a perfect spot for us. It's really, so it's about 45 miles south of Salt Lake. And, it's a great spot. It's kind of the happening spot, especially with regard to business. And so, a lot of people know Provo, Utah is, the city where Brigham Young University is. So that's about, maybe 5 miles up the road from here.
Yeah.
And so, yep. So that's Provo.
All right. I spent 2 months there back in my day, back when I was 19 and preparing to go on a mission for the Mormon church at the time. I went to Ecuador for 2 years and so the only time I've lived in Utah was those 2 months that I was in Provo. So
the MPC, man, that was, I spent some time there as well. Yeah. Not the easiest place for me to be.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, now you went to Nashville, right? So I'm curious because I know you have a passion for music. I've seen that through social media.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Scott and I have been trying to figure out how we actually met. We believe it might have been through Twitter, but we have a lot of very similar passions. If you know me, you know I love sports, I love music, I love my faith. and so forth, as does Scott. Family's a driving force for both of us. I'm curious though, and I know social media is kind of the big thing that you guys do with Gig, in addition to other things, obviously. Did your passion for music have anything to do with the fact that you served a mission in Nashville, or is that just completely coincidental?
Not at all. In fact, and forgive me, country fans, country music is probably my least favorite genre of music. However, I did find a little love for it while I was out there.
Yeah.
But no, it really didn't. I've kind of mentioned this on interviews or podcasts in the past, but I grew up loving music. My dad always had K Earth 101 going on,
Yep.
And my mom always had Kiss FM going on, and then all my friends from school, they were either listening to K Rock or Power 106. So
Sure.
if you think about all of those different types of music that I'm inhaling as a kid, right?
Yep.
And taking in, I just found a love for all of it. And one thing that is so interesting about me is I have such a versatile, crazy, taste for music. I'm all over the place, literally from the hardest of hard rock down to, the smoothest of R&B and, jazz. And anyway, so.
Yeah, if you go 10 songs deep into your iTunes, it could be Mormon Tabernacle Choir to Vanilla Ice to who knows what, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it surprises some folks. In music, it surprises some folks at how is it possible that you can listen to this? Because I can listen to the heaviest screaming rock, metalcore stuff, to, like I said, soft, smooth music you'll hear from Delilah, right? So
there you go.
Right. So it's all the above. But I think one of the reasons I have such a passion or love for music, it's my drug, right? And it understands me, and I can turn music on, and it just puts me in the place that I need to be, in many cases. So.
Do you have an earliest memory of your first album or your first concert, or really you mentioned the influences from your mom and your dad and your friends. I have the same thing. I had Beatles in my house. I had James Taylor, you name it. We had that. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and I'm 56. So the music I grew up with was music of the 60s and 70s. And then my music became the music of the 80s. Any early influence as far as records or musicians?
Oh man, I mean, where to start? I mean, I remember always having a tremendous love for rock music. My dad loves rock music. Led Zeppelin, probably is my favorite band of all time.
Yeah.
But man, I have such a love for, Stevie Wonder or Whitney Houston. Some of the greats from Aretha Franklin, the Beatles, Beach Boys, and then you get into, my first concert ever was Green Day.
Interesting.
That's a whole fun story. Always was sneaking out. Sorry, mom and dad. They did this. We were sneaking out all the time to go to shows. They caught us once because the van was so heavily, overcome by smoke that we were at a show that my dad's like, "Where the heck were you guys last night?"
Yeah.
And we told him because we felt like we should. But yeah, I went to tons of concerts as a kid. Yeah, man, I would imagine that I was listening to music in my mom's stomach, being carried by my mom, right? So anyway, yeah.
I had that experience. Staples Center used to be a client of mine back when they first opened, 2000 and so forth, in the heyday of the Shaq and Kobe years. Right. And there was a Rush concert, and I love Rush. Rush is one of my favorites. And there was so much, as you put it, smoke in the air. And I'll just leave it at that. That I think I stopped at Del Taco twice on the way home, just from the contact high that I had. Del Taco near Staples Center and Del Taco around the corner from my house. Had those munchies. Sure. So let's just talk social media a little bit, because that's kind of what your organization does. When did you first kind of have your world opened up? I think for me it was MySpace, probably for you as well. It was one of those that really the first time we came across it. When did you think, hey, I could turn this into something more than just I have a MySpace page or a Facebook page? I could make a living doing this. Great question.
So, as a kid, I've always been fascinated by people. I love meeting people. I moved away from Southern California when I was 14, had to start over. It was one of the toughest experiences of my life,
Sure.
leaving friends, family, loved ones,
The
um,
beach.
the beach, right. And Dodger games and
Yeah.
all the fun stuff that I grew up knowing. And, it forced me to learn how to meet people. And, then I moved again, my senior year of high school, started over again, but it did so much good for me. And the one thing that I just really, again, was so fascinated by was that there was now a platform that allowed me to align with, friends, from the past. And I think I am connected in social media to every one of my third grade classmates. We were in third and fourth grade together. And I can probably name every one of those students. How many people can name every one of their third grade classmates, fourth grade classmates?
Yeah, I can give you 3 or 4 names, I think. And I live nearby where I went to school.
Right. And so we have a tool that allows us to connect with anyone and everyone. And I just was fascinated by that. And I'm just, I also knew that this was a platform that was going to do a lot of things in the world. And it was a platform that would allow people to push and promote, anything that truly mattered to them, and would be the greatest tool for advertising in the history of the world, for both the good and the bad. And, man, it's been such a blessing for me to have, social media in my life, and I've met friends for life. What's crazy, Ed, this is really the first time that you and I have ever
face-to-face.
Right, face to face.
We've had phone calls and we've texted and emailed, but
right.
And so in however many years, it's our first face to face, ironically.
Yeah. And so it's a special tool, man. It's social media is I think it's the greatest tool that mankind's ever been given.
Yeah.
And knowing that, there's a lot of bad that goes along with it too. I was recently telling someone that I was speaking with that Twitter has always been my favorite platform, without question. And I find myself wanting to be on Twitter less and less the past couple months. And it's pretty heartbreaking, man.
With all the things going on in the world, you can't avoid it.
It's become a cesspool for hatred and anger, for shaming, destructive commentary. It's unbelievable. The world's hurting in a lot of, ways right now. And a lot of people have reasons to be frustrated or angry. But social media can become extremely dangerous. And so, but above all, like it really is the best tool to go and do some good in the world. And, if you're a business or a brand, there is nothing better that you should be using.
Yeah. And you've triggered several questions that I anticipated, but I'm going to ask them a little bit out of order here. You have 4 kids. And you talked about the upside. I know all I'm doing is mention your kids. I saw a tweet last night of you with, with the boys coming from a baseball game. And I know how important your family is to you.
Yeah.
I think the reason most of us as parents got on social media, I know the first time I got on MySpace, my daughters were teenagers at the time, is really because I wanted to see what they were up to. Not in the distrust area, but just what's this MySpace thing? For me, it was a music platform more than anything else. You could attach a song to your profile and that told your personality, and seeing the pictures that they posted or that they liked and what have you.
Right.
Being an influencer, to use a term that a lot of people understand in social media, and obviously you make a living helping businesses and brands grow through social media. What advice do you and Mikkel, your wife, follow, or advice would you give to other parents who have kids who are coming into those teenage years now, like your kids are, about the pitfalls of social media? How do you manage that and monitor it to keep them from the bad? And keep from is hard. We can't keep our kids from bad. That's just going to be something they're going to be exposed to. But how do we mitigate that as parents?
That's a great question. And it's something I get asked that question all the time.
I'll bet.
Fortunately, my oldest is 14. And to date, he has still not expressed one bit of interest in using social media, which to me is shocking.
Yeah.
Because
given who dad is,
I would have been all over social media at 10, 11, 12. And my daughter, who's now 12, same thing. None of my kids have expressed any interest in social media, which could be a blessing in a sense, but it's going to happen, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like Chase, my oldest, has recently discovered girls. We knew that he's always had a little thing for ladies, but he was out at a water park. He would kill me if he heard this, but he was out at a water park, a couple days ago, and he's just like, "Dad, there's a bunch of hot babes all over the place,
Nice.
I'm just like, all right, son, there you go. Here we
It's
go.
starting. Here we go. Yeah. Time to earn that next dad belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
The belt of dad.
But what I would say is, fortunately, most of these social platforms, these phones, they have, parental settings that you can set to watch and monitor. You never want to micromanage your kids, but you want to protect your kids. And so my advice to parents that have kids that are starting to get into the game of social media is to do your research and make sure that you're building settings around where you would like your kids to be, and most importantly, to protect them.
Yeah.
My oldest son, actually all three of my oldest kids have a device, right? And, there's screen time and, sites they're allowed to see or not see. And these phone companies have done a great job providing settings that make me comfortable leaving or letting them have that.
Good.
But parents just let it fly and just hand a phone over to them. That is danger zone in more ways than you can shake a stick at. So my advice would be to do your research and plan for what you do and don't want them doing with the phone.
Let me ask you this question. How does your faith, being LDS and having grown up in the church, and I know how important that is to you, how does that drive your decision-making when it comes to this topic with your kids? Again, we know, like you said, the internet can be used for good. We've outlined that, and we'll dive deeper shortly into that. Certainly can be used for bad. We've seen some horrible things. You alluded to Twitter and the rage and the things that are out there right now. And obviously there's pornography and other things that are just a click away. How has your role as a dad in your faith and you and your wife influenced the way you teach your kids about social media? And again, you're lucky right now that they're not as interested in it as they're obviously going to become.
That's a great question. One of the things that I love about our faith is the teachings that go along with how to be a better parent. I mean, as you know, families it's the central piece of the faith. And, I feel like a lot of things that I learn and hear and study, and there's a lot of great advice for parents as to how to, be more Christ-like in your approach to parenting and to help your kids understand the important things in life. And so one of the things that I take very seriously is making sure that my kids know and understand that I trust them. Mm-hmm. And I was really fortunate to have amazing parents that taught me, right and wrong, and kept me accountable, and taught me the importance of trying to be more Christ-like, or, to do good in the world. And there was an expectation in a positive way, not a negative way, but a positive way that we need to be better and do better and be real with ourselves when we know the tough times were, thrown at us, or, trials or troubles in life. And, I think I'm actually, as much as my wife might say, I don't want them to have social media, I'm excited for, my kids to have social media.
Sure.
Because I trust them. And look, they're going to deal with all the crap that you and I dealt with as kids. They're going to grow up. They're going to make massive mistakes, just like, I did, and you probably did. But
sure.
I think that one of the things that I want to make very clear to my children is they can come to me and talk to me about anything. I mean that, anything.
Yeah.
And, my parents did a great job, especially my dad. I mean, my dad's a guy and I'm a guy. And so, it became easy for me to talk to my dad about things that may not have been the easiest things to talk to my mom about. And I did that, Ed, because my dad made it clear that he grew up too, right? And he made big mistakes, and that he was there for me to talk through mistakes. And I think that set the pace and precedence for my dad and I's relationship. And even it has an impact on how I'm raising my children today. But always centered on trying to be good and better. And so I think that's, the way that I look at it, with social media is I want them to try it, test it, learn it, and, do some good with it, because you can do a lot of good with social media if your head's in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and honest and sharing that too. It's hard for people to admit that they've made mistakes, especially to their kids. And we know that our parents weren't perfect, and our kids know that we weren't perfect. And certainly, I think it was Bill Cosby that said that, as soon as I started realizing how brilliant my parents were, my kids were telling me how stupid I was. And it's kind of, we
I've
get to
never
that
heard
point in
that
our
either.
lives where we, it's
Yeah,
like, wow, my parents were just geniuses, and my kids are like, you're an idiot.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that's good. And just be real and be trusting of them. I think
That's
that's
right.
just
That's right.
really great.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of places we can go now too. And I'm just kind of glancing at the notes. You're involved in a lot of different things. And I want to get back in a little bit, hopefully, to, how you would start a social media campaign with a company. And we can go there if you'd like. But I want to talk a little bit, Scott, about some of the different things that you're involved in. Gig, obviously, that's your gig, pun intended.
Yeah.
You've got a relationship with one of my old favorite Dodgers, and I know certainly one of your favorites, and Steve Sachs, former second baseman for the Dodgers, and you launched Be Amicable. I know that you're a partner with your cousin in a barbecue place up in Orem.
Yeah.
I know you're an investor. You're involved in a lot of different things. So I guess let's just peel it back one layer at a time. Talk about Steve Sachs, Be Amicable, how that vision started, why. Tell our audience what it's about and where that kind of sparked for you.
Yeah. So, a few years back on Twitter, I tweeted out, if any of you guys can guess my favorite childhood Dodger, growing up, I'll send you some swag or something. I can't remember what I did. So, I had hundreds of people responding with guesses. And anyway, some guy said, was it Steve Sachs? And I'm like, you got it. And which led to, Steve and I meeting. I think Steve sent me a tweet or something, or someone connected us. A friend, and I was like, hey man, thanks, that's super humbling that you would mention that, but tell me more about yourself. And we hit it off and became buddies. And so Steve knew what I was up to, as far as being an entrepreneur and investing and looking into always about startups and opportunities. And he shared with me a couple ideas that he had, and one of them was Be Amicable. It's actually now called Bivoco. We changed the name to Bivoco to make it a little bit more amicable. Is not always the most easy word to say.
Sure. Yeah, I even stumbled on it as I said it, but yeah.
Yeah. So Bivoco or Be Vocal is kind of what, or voice. So that's what it's called now. But we built it. I took it to developers that we work with, and we built it, brought some great partners on. And truth be told, I am not as involved as I was, which is a whole nother topic that you and I could have,
Sure.
for discussion, because I am absolutely focused on gig for a number of reasons, and I had to learn a few hard things. But Steve is a great dude, and he's still, fighting away with a couple other folks that I brought to the table as, the executive team, and great people are involved. And it's a special platform that really is focused on helping, businesses make it more comfortable for employees to be more vocal about, some of the things that are happening inside, the company, whether it's bullying, sexual harassment in general. Yeah. It's a really, really cool product. So for all you HR reps out there, it's something you want to look into. It's really, really helping a lot of companies.
How do people find it?
Bevoco.com, BEVOCO.com. And you can learn more there. But it's
is Voco an acronym for something, or is it just kind of a play on the word vocal?
Yeah, it's be vocal, it's kind of a catchy name, Bevoco, be vocal or use your voice. And so but anyway, Steve is still he's Steve, man. Like the guy he's hilarious, great. He's coming up to our house a few times. He's great with the kids. The kids just love him. He's a very good dude. So I really have enjoyed getting to know him and working with him. He's a hard worker, just like he was on the field, right? So
yeah, it's always fun to meet those childhood heroes too. You probably know I worked in minor league baseball for a few years, and like the guy that was the manager of my team was Gary Templeton, who was a shortstop for the Padres and Cardinals, and I watched him, go against my favorite Dodger team.
Yeah.
So it took a little while for Gary and I to become friends because, I hated the guy on the field because he was so good, but turned out just be a good dude. All right, let's go back. Let's talk about gig. When did you realize that you could make social media your career? And tell us a little bit about the founding of Gig and just kind of the evolution of that.
Gig was actually built for the music industry.
That's what I thought.
And a lot of people know this. I have a tremendous passion for music, and I also believe that the greatest opportunity in the history of music is right now on the business side. Right now, the music industry is getting absolutely obliterated with this COVID situation.
Right.
You know, one of the biggest moneymakers for, you know, an artist is live shows, touring.
And those are gone right now.
Not happening. And so, you know, I built the gig platform to really help, you know, discover new talent, help mainstream artists, you know, message themselves or get the word out about new things that they, you know, are working on or releasing, upcoming tours. But I wanted to help artists see and understand everything that was being said about their brand or their band or their music in social media and pull it into one spot and then teach them how to capitalize on those things, help them align more with fans. Because really when it comes down to it, if you think about it, there are about 4 people that I really, really trust with regard to music. And most of the music that we listen to, you know, there's a lot of the streaming services now that allow you to, you know, build playlists or hear songs that are similar to another song that you like or you search. But there are 4 people I trust, really trust. My 3 brothers and my cousin Tyson.
Nice.
That's about it. My sister Haley actually does a good job too, but we really, really do get our taste in music or our recommendations from each other. And so I wanted, you know, when you think about that, artists need to do a better job of getting their big fans to talk about their love for that artist online, sure. Right? So gig was meant to help those artists be more efficient in getting their fans to do the talking, right, about their music, because friends trust friends, man. I mean,
right.
So now gig, let's talk about gig. So as hard as it was, it actually was hard. I was having so much fun with the music stuff.
Yeah.
I realized that what we had created for the artist or for the music industry, everyone needed. The same rules apply. Every business out there, they want to be better about aligning or connecting with fans. They want to find ways to align with new fans, or, you know, they want to hear and know what they're saying. They want to, you know, put things out there to get the fans or the members, patients, or whoever it is to do more of the talking, you know, telling people about it. Because when it all comes down to it, no one really gives a crap about what a business has to say about themselves. Right. You know, if my cousin Cameron and I, you know, with Bam Bam sat there and said, "You guys, Bam Bam's best barbecue on the planet. Come get yourself some." No one cares.
Of course you're going to. It's like your resume. Your resume is all the good things about yourself.
That's right.
Let's get a referral to talk about me.
Right. That's right. And by the way, I cringe when I hear my bio. It was written by someone in you know, previous interview that I did a while back.
That's why I read it, because I wanted to make you uncomfortable at the beginning.
It was
so the rest would just be smooth.
It's uncomfortable, but you know, I guess sometimes you just, anyway. So just with that being said, it's not comfortable, but you know, a lot of businesses do find it comfortable to talk about themselves, and trust me, they're not doing as much damage or good as they think. Yeah. So the goal nowadays, and this is where social media comes into play, right? Mm-hmm. What are you doing to give your customers a reason to talk about you? Or Ed, what are you doing to give your listeners a reason to talk about you?
Right.
Or universities, what are you doing to get students, alumni, parents, faculty to tell the world about their great experience there at your university? That is the name of the game, because social media is the system to drive true, authentic advertising. So that is what gig is. We help businesses, organizations, universities, anyone in the healthcare industry, it doesn't matter who you are. We help you be more efficient at telling your story and building a customer narrative rather than the corporate narrative. And that's what our system is focused on.
I usually ask this at the end, and I already did it on Bivoco, but for gig, what's the best way for people to reach you or to learn more about gig?
Gig.com.
Okay. GIGG.
GIGG.com. Okay. And you know what? That's one of my most proud things in business, is getting that name.
Yeah.
Because really, you know, gig is, it was known as a gig for music.
Right.
But now,
what's your gig? It's everything. What do you do for work? What do you, it's just a synonymous with, what are you doing?
That's right. And so and we wanted to brand it, make it special. GIG would be really, you know, software computerish, right? Like I wanted it to be a little bit different. And so we we threw that G on the end, and it's been great.
I love it. When was the tipping point? Because I know even for me, and again, I'm 56, and social media is something that came into my life in my 40s. And early on, and as a business leader, I always thought so, and I don't think this now, but I did think up until just a few years ago that social media was, to quote myself, interns posting for other interns. And then I heard that the president of Coca-Cola was actually the guy on their Facebook page. If you saw something on Facebook or posted something, he saw it. And that started to transition my paradigm about social media a little bit. You live this every day. Has there been a transition that you've seen, and when and how? Is there a pioneer there that maybe you thought, maybe it's Coca-Cola, maybe somebody else, that, you know, this isn't just interns talking to interns, this is executives talking to executives and everybody else in between?
Well, let's talk about Steve Sachs.
Okay.
He was my childhood hero, you know, as a young kid. And before I know it, I'm on the phone with him.
Yeah.
And before I know it, I'm, you know,
in business with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So it has been absolutely mind-boggling at the people I've been fortunate to meet through social media. And it is so important to use it the right way. And it's going to become even more apparent as years go on how important social media is to a person's personal brand. Thank goodness that you and I didn't have social media when we were dating. I'm telling you, dude, these ladies, they will know everything about you before you sit down for your first dinner date, right?
Yeah,
and
no doubt. And employers will know everything about you. If my employers in my 20s knew about my teens, forget about it.
That's where I was going next. So young men, and, you know, anyone out there dating, be careful about what you're posting on social media. Yeah. It is who you are. It is your brand. And you hear stories about, you know, men and women that have tweeted or posted things a decade ago, and they're getting flack for, you know, things that may have been okay to say or talk about or kind of in the norm. I just had a conversation about this. You know, I'm going to be vulnerable for a second, you know, as kids, and this is terrible, but let's be real here. Like as kids, I remember saying to my brother, "Oh dude, quit being so gay," or "You're a fag." That makes me sick to think I was talking that way as a kid, or "Quit being a retard." I hate these words. I'm not, I like, but these were words that people were using as the norm years ago. I'm not saying everyone was doing that, but.
No, you're right though. But we weren't. And now if you post it and type it, it's out there and it's permanent. That's
right. That's right. And so this goes to show the importance of being very careful with what you say and you do. And I feel terrible about, you know, some of the things that I learned and started saying as a kid, because those are heavy words. Like I cringe when I hear anyone ever say that. And if I have the opportunity, I'll correct them. Don't say that again. Like, you know, don't say that again. But I also have a little, you know, I always get empathy and sympathy mixed up. So forgive, you know, I have
empathy. You've lived it. Sympathy, you've seen it. Yeah.
Thanks, Ed. So
thanks for the lesson there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I have sympathy towards those that are saying it that may not realize what they're doing. And so it's important sometimes to call people out. Right. And especially if you've learned it and you don't understand what you do. Yeah. And so, you know, going back to what I was mentioning, you know, we kind of squirreled here, but going back to the importance of being aware of what you share, that stuff is locked in. That stuff is locked in. And I think, believe it or not, a lot of things that are being said on social media right now, and, you know, during the past couple months, there's going to be some regret, man. There's going to be some regret. And, you know, it just goes to show a lot of character, true character is being shown right now. So be aware of your character and what you're saying or doing, because, you know, down the road, you don't want to cringe as much. And I think we're going to cringe at, you know, one point for some of the things we said, but.
So let me ask you, that's a perfect tee up for the next question I have for you, Scott. What are you learning through this COVID crisis? I'm not going to ask you what the impact's been necessarily, unless you want to pattern that into your answer, but more importantly, and I ask a lot of my guests this, and even just in conversations that I have with my clients and friends and family, what are you learning through these last 4 or 5 months of COVID, and now this last month of all the racial tension and all the things that are out there, that you hope that will stick with you when hopefully we get through, and I air quote the through, we get through this and we're we're not talking COVID, and we're not talking racism, and we're not talking about all this tension. What do you hope that you're learning now that you'll keep with you, or that maybe you can teach your kids?
Man, great question. It's always important to have gratitude in your heart. And man, don't you just appreciate things so much more than you did before?
Yeah.
Going back to the spiritual side, sometimes God does things to keep you in check, right? And I think that things have been, for the most part, fairly good and not as much strife. And I'm speaking for myself, because I know there's others that have dealt with things over the past few years. But for the most part, the nation has been pretty just even keel. Things are going pretty well. We have our things here and there, but this has really, really opened up some mind shifting matters that you really got to take a look at yourself. And and I think I'm hopeful that I never ever take for granted the little things. Taking my wife out to dinner, going and sitting down and having my peanuts and Coke at a Dodger game, taking my kids on a trip on a plane down to Newport or, to Hawaii, or, I will never take for granted, or even going to church, man. Like, I love church, man. And I pulled out my church shoes and dust all over them, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so those little things, I took them for granted. Right. And so I hope that, in answer to your question, I hope to take with me the memory of and never forgetting to have gratitude for the little things.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we tend to focus more on this. That's been a topic that's come up in my conversations, day to day, is just, we tend to focus a couple things. Number one, on the most important things in our lives now. And also, I don't know about you, and I get that you probably feel the same way. You can pass somebody in the hallway pre-COVID and, at work or church or in the grocery store or what have you. Hey, how you doing? And you don't really mean, hey, how you doing? You're just kind of acknowledging, hey, Scott, I see you, but I'm going to keep going with my life. Now, I say, hey, Scott, how you doing? I really want an answer, because it's just you and me right here on this little laptop screen. Yeah. People will listen and watch this later, but the conversations, I think, for me personally, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway, have become much more authentic and meaningful, because they're fewer and further between now than they were before.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. I that's another thing. If I can add the second thing, I see people differently. Not that I ever didn't see, I really do. I just love people. I love every story that comes out. Like you and I talked about, I can't remember if it was before we started the podcast or during, but everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah.
Everyone. And you can learn something from anyone that you ever meet in your life. And but I have a lot more love in my heart for, people, right? Just anyone and everyone. Doesn't matter who they are. And we're all going through something, right? Especially right now. Everyone is going through something. And we need to all listen more. We all need to listen more. I think, I tweeted out, I was proud of this one. You can do a whole lot more with your ears, your two ears, than your mouth will ever do for you, or something like that. Or you can do a lot more good with your ears than you can ever do with your mouth in your lifetime. And anyway, so I really think that we need to focus on listening more to people.
Well, and that's been really the objective of why I launched this podcast to begin with, was everybody has a story, like you said. I learn more from, I talk a lot. That's just one of my downfalls. It's a positive, it can be, but also a big downfall is that I'll tend to talk too much, or like I'm doing now, use 1,000 words to ask a question that I could have asked in 5. But we learn so much more when we listen than when we talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
now you've used the word vulnerability a little bit. So I'm going to lead you there again for a moment. Not everything's been roses. Not everything's been success. I know, some people say they have the Midas touch, and I know that you're very open about some of the failures that you've had and some of the shortcomings. Maybe let's just go business for a second. You don't need to dive in the detail of anything that you've tried that didn't work, unless you'd like to. But what I'm more interested in, and I think our listeners and viewers are more interested in, is when business people who are perceived as successful as you are, share maybe some of the shortcomings they've had, really, I think what we like to hear is, what did you learn? Without the going into the weeds and the detail of what the failure was or what the loss was. Can you share at all maybe what a loss or a failure that you've had in your life has taught you?
Yeah. Good question. So, and I'll get back to one of the points that you made. When I hear people tell me you're so successful, you're successful, what is success? Like,
Right.
really, what is success? Is it, money and, business? Is it, what is true success? Well, I want to get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I have gotten my arse kicked over the course of the last 7 years. The first year or two of gig, peaches and cream, happy day, everything was going well. But no one knows that behind the scenes, come year 3, I had some of the darkest, most ugly times and years of my life. And the most lonely. And I made so many stupid decisions. I came into this business thinking I knew everything. I didn't know a damn thing. I didn't know anything. The one thing I think I did know how to do was sell.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing outside of that. And I think I came into it arrogant. And I didn't listen to a lot of incredible mentors that I was fortunate at the time to have around me. And fortunate now that they had patience with me to come back a little bit later. I got smoked, Ed. I lost millions of dollars. My tail was between my legs more times than you could ever imagine. It was dark times. Yeah. But those are, I remember having to let go. I've had to let go of 2 teams, entire teams, since starting gig, meaning I had like 13 people at once, had to let them all go because I wasn't moving in the right direction. And another time had to let, about 10 people go. And it wasn't easy because I hadn't figured it out.
Yeah.
I still am trying to figure it out.
Of course.
But those horrible moments and those moments when I had to go back to my investors and talk about mistakes that I had made and so on, I learned so much. And, I could go deeper into each of those mistakes that I made, but here's the one thing that I can tell you that I'm proud of. I will never quit.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that we will win. Cause, I think it was, I'm trying to remember who it was, but anyway, long story short, they say it's 7 years. I would love to write a book one day, 7 years. They say it's 7 years before it really clicks, as far as business is concerned.
Yeah.
So that if you want to start a business, you better plan on getting smoked for 7 years before you even start seeing a second of success or before you have any type of real business acumen. And so, I'm here at that moment. Like, this is the year. I just was talking to an investor that said, how long you been in business? I see these numbers here. How long you been in business? I said 7 years. And he said, you're ready.
You're getting it.
Now you're ready. Let's see what you really got, kid.
Yeah.
Let's go. And so never quit. And you find out how much they love whatever a person loves, whatever they're doing, to see if they'll keep going and they'll keep getting up in the morning. If the going gets tough, because I've been there, man. And I have so much respect for entrepreneurs. Yeah. I have so much respect for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So you mentioned the word investor. I know on one of your profiles, it mentions in your bio that you are an investor, you invest, you have investors for gig as well. So it's a two-sided question here. What do you look for when you're investing, whether it's a stock or a person or a business or what have you? And how is what you look for a reflection of yourself? I've never asked anybody that question before, so I don't know how it came out. But
yeah, it's a great question. I look at the person. I think it was, who was it? I'm struggling to remember where I got all this great insight, but it was mentioned that, so if you were to look at your entire network, Ed, look at all your entire network. Mm-hmm. Pick one person that you would invest everything that you own into. You have one person, and this person going forward, you get 10% of everything that they make their entire life.
I'm set. I already got the guy in mind, and I'm set.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that the person. Why will I invest the person? I would put all my eggs in that kid's basket, or that lady's basket, or that individual's basket, because I know that they will never stop, and they are passionate about what it is that they're investing, or what it is that they're building. Their investment, and their where they're pushing their life, and the business they're creating. I have won in all the businesses that I have made my choice in investing based on that. And the person was passionate about it, and he was, or she was, extremely hardworking and relentless.
Yeah.
And any of the businesses that I've invested that the person wasn't those things, lost it all.
Didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my response. You can tell if someone's passionate about something. It's not hard. It's not.
Yeah. You wake up and and it's not, I used to interpret passion as obsession, and I don't anymore. Because when I'm obsessed with something, nothing else matters. When I'm passionate, when I'm on that, I'm, family business and working with family businesses, podcasting, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, time with my dad, time at Dodger games, if that ever comes back. These are passions of mine that when I'm there, I'm completely locked in. But obsession means, to me anyway, that's not a dictionary definition. It's just Ed Hart's definition of obsession is nothing else matters. And I don't get that you're obsessed. One obsession I think you might have is cereal. So
yeah, I would have to agree.
How did that start?
I've been obsessed with cereal since I was a kid. It's the moment I took a bite of it, anything with sugar on it, right? Mm-hmm. And anything that didn't have sugar on it, I made sure sugar was on it.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. And so, but always have had a love for cereal since I was a kid. I guess it keeps me young. But it's, yes, I do have a slight addiction. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be better about.
Don't lie to me, Scott. Don't lie to me.
I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm trying to be better because I think I'm starting to feel it for the first time.
How old are you?
I just turned 40,
Okay, there you go.
So I always heard the dreaded 40. That's when, oh yeah, Scott, yeah, my dad. Yeah, let's see how long that lasts, bud. You keep being a donkey. Yeah.
You're an avid runner, so you do burn it off.
Yeah, yeah. But what I mean by saying that I feel it when I'm running. I'm starting to feel, while it's maybe burning off, it's not doing so hot in the joints and other parts. So I'm trying to slow down. It's not working very well, but hey, I'm trying.
So deserted island, you have one box of cereal you can bring with you. What is it?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I just bought those the other day for my grandsons. We were up in Utah actually visiting, and that was their go-to as well.
That's what I start with.
Wow.
This would go.
We were going to get to the commercial portion of the broadcast here. Lucky Scots.
Oh yeah. So check this out. This is you hit big, right? Like when Lucky Charms makes you your own box. This is better than being a champion on the front of the Wheaties.
Wow, that's better than Wheaties right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I win there. I'm just kidding.
Nice. Lucky Scots.
And for the record, this is not a lie. I have never been paid a cent by any cereal company. Not once. However, they do send me a lot of goods, so maybe that's considered compensation.
You're getting it in other ways, yeah, absolutely.
I've got kids. My kids' friends think that I work for. They think I'm the CEO of Kellogg's
or something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that maybe you were a paid spokesman as well. As soon as you reached down and pulled up the Cinnamon Toast Crunch box.
No, I have boxes.
Watching. He just showed us a couple of boxes there. So
yeah, I snack on cereal.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting question for you here. We always talk about what we've learned, and I want to be cognizant of your time here. We're getting close to the end. We talk a lot about what we've learned from our failures and our shortcomings. You've also obviously experienced a little bit of success. What would you say you've learned or hope that you've learned from the successes that you've had?
That I've learned that hard work pays off. And being relentless and never quitting, especially when it's easy to quit. I think I learned younger, and thanks to my parents, that were constantly reminding me that I was capable of anything that I set my mind to. That I have set my mind to doing things, and because of busting my can, I have accomplished whatever it is I set out to do. And I learned the never quit mentality, and I was, so anytime that, you know, I have had any success in anything, I attribute it to hard work. And I'm grateful that, you know, um, I learned work ethic because I had good people surrounding me that taught me the importance of hard work. My parents, of course, my coaches, my leaders, and it pays off. It doesn't matter who you are, you know, what your background is. You have a shot if you really want it. You do. You just gotta fight to do it. And some people have to fight a whole hell of a lot harder than another, but you can do it.
Awesome. Okay, 3 or 4 more. One question on 3 or 4 topics. The question is, what are you looking forward to? And let's start with gig.
I'm looking forward to getting our product into tens of thousands of businesses, thousands of universities, and I'm really looking forward to getting back into the music industry, and I will.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to as a sports fan? This is an obvious question, but I'll throw it up to you anyway, because it's probably the same thing I am.
A World Series championship for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Attaboy. That's right. A parade, whether it's a Zoom parade or a real parade, a parade nevertheless would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so a footnote on that now. For me, whenever I've thought about the possibility of moving out of Southern California, there's a lot of considerations. Family is here. I love the weather. My friends and so forth. Obviously, social media and the internet makes it easier to stay in tune with everyone, as does just text messaging. But the thought that prior to this year, I could just, you know, on a whim, drive up to Staples Center for a Laker game or drive up to Dodger Stadium for a Dodger game. How hard is that to live? Now, I know you come down here a lot for business and you mix in a sporting event or two. How hard is it to live far away from being able to just go see your favorite team play?
It's tough. And, you know, I get down there whenever I want to watch games, and I'll take Mikkel with me every so often. I think that one of the tough things is being able to just grab my kids and pick them up out of school and take them to a game. Because my earliest memories were my dad or grandpa taking me to, you know, Dodger games, taking me out of school and running over to watch a game. And so I think that's what makes it tough.
Yeah. All right. Back to what are you looking for? What are you looking forward to with your family?
Man, there is nothing like you just mentioned. Like, I love seeing my kids grow. You know, there is nothing that I take more pride in. Here, back to success. What's true success? True success is family. True success is being a good dad and building a communication, a strong way to communicate between your children, knowing that they'll come to you for anything. Success is you know, a happy marriage, and it's not tough to be married. I don't know how Mikkel puts up with me. Somehow we make it work. Success is being a good person, and forget the car you drive, the money you make, the house you live in. It's what you're doing in the community. It's how you're building, you know, a better community. It's about raising others up, you know, in the community. It's about bringing hope to the people that you're surrounded by. That's what success is. Has nothing to do with money.
Yeah.
And so, you know, going back to my kids and family, like what do I look forward to? I look forward to continue to build my relationship with my kids, watch them go succeed, and hopefully do the things that, you know, their mother mostly and myself have taught them. You know, that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. What, I don't have this question formulated in my head, so I'll just say it how it comes out. What drives you when you get up in the morning and you think about what you have ahead for the day? You've already kind of hit on a lot of it, but if you could encapsulate, you know, this last hour we spent together and just kind of what drives you in your decision making. You know, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. You know, how does that process work for you?
What drives me, you know, is The truth is I love helping people. I love seeing people succeed, and I love seeing people go after their dreams. And I look for ways and really enjoy getting up to build ways to help people succeed and, really go after their passion. Because, everyone has dreams. Everyone wants and dreams about doing something, and those dreams that you have inside you, those things matter, right? And I love working towards building ways to help people go after their passion and be happy and successful in life with the things that matter, right?
Yeah. I know one of the things sorry, I thought I had, and it just triggered that I hadn't asked it yet. Stadium of Fire, this now not happening right now because
Yeah.
of COVID. Tell us a little bit about that. I know Imagine Dragons is one of those bands I love, and you do too, and others that have been a part of that early on, maybe before they were famous. I saw the movie Believer with Dan Reynolds, and know the story somewhat.
Yeah.
You talk about that a little bit, that concept, that concert, maybe that specific experience before I ask my final question.
Yeah, no, I've been fortunate to work with the Stadium of Fire it's been 7 years now. And what Gig has done is we run a global competition that lets kids compete, that submit videos of their band performing, whether it's a cover song or an original, and then they compete head to head against a bunch of other artists to try and earn a spot to share the same stage as whoever the headliner is, for the Stadium of Fire show. Which is, for those that don't know what the Stadium of Fire is, it's the biggest 4th of July stadium show in America. So it's been around for 25 years, but it's been a lot of fun. But Imagine Dragons were one of the bands that competed in the competition in years past, and before they hit big, and that's been a lot of fun. That's one of the tools that Gig built, was to help build your brand. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed the time that I've had with them, but it's a really cool show. So
yeah,
it's been fun.
Well, I look forward to that coming back so I can be there.
Yes.
We're up there almost every 4th of July because my sons are up there. So
Awesome.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be there. Well, is there anything else? Here's the essay part of the interview. Is there anything that we've missed that you're hoping we could talk about, or anything that's on your mind that you could share before I go into my final question that I ask everyone?
No, I've actually really enjoyed it, Ed.
Me too.
So, I think it's been a good time. So yeah, no, I'm ready for this final question.
All right. It's been long overdue, right? Like you said, we've had these text dialogues and these tweets and these conversations and so forth for a long time. I really do feel like I've known you for a long time because you're very open with how you share about yourself and your family and some of the fun stuff that you guys get to do. As you know, the name of the podcast, as you said it at the top of the interview, is called From the Heart. For a lot of reasons. Obviously, my last name is the easy one there, but that's, for me, my favorite conversations are the authentic, from the heart conversations. I think if I wanted to learn about Scott Warner, I can just go on Wikipedia or Google or social media, and I've done all of those to learn about you over the years, and in particular in preparing for this conversation today. But what that stuff doesn't really show is the answer to this question. So I'll just end with, Scott Warner, what's in your heart?
Man, what's in my heart? I like to believe it's love, and it's and gratitude or appreciation for just life in general, and my heart in many cases right now hurts for a lot of things that people are dealing with in the world, but I know in my heart that we can work through it, and as long as we pay more attention to one another and listen a little bit more, and I think there's a lot of power in being real and honest and admitting where we have fallen short, because everyone falls short, and including myself. But I'm grateful in my heart for the chance to be real about where I've made mistakes in life, and I'm grateful for people that are patient with me, and my heart is full. And again, going back to what we mentioned, if there's anything that I have learned over the past few months, as hard as they've been, is when it comes down to it, I've been incredibly blessed, and I'm grateful.